My revenge began when my boyfriend called me his maid with benefits. I moved out, took what was mine, and left him alone to face eviction. Okay, so first off, I don't know if I'm posting this in the right place. I usually just lurk and read other people's chaos, but I have to get this out somewhere because honestly, what the actual hell? Have you ever had a moment where you're just like, am I the only one seeing this? Please let me know, because I swear I started the night thinking I was just being paranoid. By the end, I wanted to dropkick someone, and I do not mean that as a joke. Here's some context. My name is Haley. I'm 27 years old, female, hi. My boyfriend Douglas, who's 28, and I have been together for almost 2 years, if you can even call it that now. We've been living together for about 13 months. It wasn't a cute, oh my gosh, we moved in for love thing. It was mostly practical. His lease was up, and my place was falling apart. Not gonna lie, I thought it'd be fun, and at first it kind of was, until it wasn't. I'll come back to that. This weekend we got invited to this party. It wasn't even our friend's party, it was hosted by the daughter of our landlord, Claire. She was like, hey, you guys are always super chill with the rent stuff. Come hang. I've only met Claire in person one time. She's big on group text for rent reminders, not face-to-face. But Douglas was all over it, saying it'd be good for networking. Networking for what? No idea. He's always saying that about random events like, bro, you're not running for office. Anyway, I just said sure, because I honestly haven't been out in weeks and figured there'd at least be free snacks. If things got boring, I could dip early. We showed up, and it was way fancier than I thought, not rich fancy, but there was actual glassware. And someone was playing a Spotify playlist on a Bluetooth speaker that didn't sound like it had been dropped in a toilet, which is rare for these situations. There was a weird vibe right away, though. Claire was wearing this velvet top that looked expensive, and everyone seemed to know each other except us. Douglas was acting like he was on a talk show or something. He was all handsy, laughing too loud, and kept nudging me like he wanted me to work the room with him. I was just there for the chips, so at first I wandered around, talking to Claire about how our shower pressure sucks, and the dryer makes a weird noise sometimes. I noticed Douglas was already drinking fast, like he had his second cup in hand by the time I finished my first. I made a joke about him going hard for a Saturday, and he just shrugged and said something about needing to loosen up after a week of dealing with my nagging. No smile. It stung, but I brushed it off because, whatever, right? He's always got a snarky comeback, but lately, they've been more pointed. I know I can be a little too on top of things sometimes, but if I don't remind him about bills, guess who gets the angry text from Claire? Spoiler, not him. About 30 minutes in, I realized I was basically following him around, picking up after him. He was just talking to these two guys I barely recognized. I overheard him say, "Oh, Haley's super helpful. I couldn't keep my place clean if she wasn't around." Except, in his tone, it wasn't a compliment. It was like he was laughing at me. I tried to brush it off again, but then he started going off about how he never has to worry about rent being late because someone is basically his accountant-maid combo. The guys kind of laughed, not really sure if it was funny or not. I gave him a look, and he just winked at me. I went to the kitchen to get another drink, but now I was annoyed. Here's where it gets worse. I should probably mention that Douglas has always been one of those guys who's joking, but it's actually just mean. If I call him out, he'll say, "Lighten up, it's just a joke." Why are you so sensitive? But it's always about stuff I do for him or stuff I forget. He never lets it go. He'll remind me about the time I accidentally shrunk his hoodie like it's a running bit, but if I bring up his stuff, it's old news. So, yeah, the whole night, I watched him get drunker. I was texting my friend Avery under the table like, please, distract me before I throw a chip at his head. By 11 or so, most people were kind of tipsy, but Douglas was definitely gone. I tried to get him to drink water. He ignored me and started talking louder, like he was performing for the room. Claire came over, sat next to me, and quietly asked, "Is he always like this?" I just shrugged. She looked uncomfortable. I said, "He's had a rough week," which was the dumbest excuse. His week wasn't rough. He just forgot his laundry in the washer, and now everything smells like mildew. That's on him. At some point, someone started talking about living with partners and the worst chores. That's when Douglas decided it was his time to shine. He stood up, holding his drink like he was making a toast, and said, "Oh, you want to know what it's like living with Haley? She's basically my maid with benefits. Good for scrubbing toilets, paying rent, but way too boring for anything else." Yeah, he really said that out loud to the whole group and everyone just froze. I could see Claire's face like, did he just say that? A couple of his friends laughed, but it was mostly that awkward, "Oh God, please don't drag me into this" laugh. I stood up, not loud or anything, and started walking toward the hallway. Douglas literally grabbed my wrist, not hard but enough to stop me. He did this thing where he said, "Oh look, she's going to leave. Sit down, Haley, come on." Then he turned to the group, waving my purse in the air and said, "Look guys, she doesn't even have the guts to walk away. Pathetic, isn't she?" And people actually laughed, not all of them, but enough that I felt my face go hot. Claire was just staring at the floor. I pulled my wrist away. He didn't let go at first, but I yanked it and it wasn't gentle. I stood there for a second, not sure what to do because I didn't want to make it weirder, but I also wasn't about to cry in front of these people. So I sat back down, took my purse from his hand and held it on my lap. He was still standing there, trying to get more laughs, but it was kind of dying out. For the next hour, I barely moved. I scrolled through my phone, pretending to text, but really, I was just staring at my lock screen. I was thinking of all the times I picked up his slack, all the times I covered for his late payments with Claire, all the times I did his dishes because he forgot. I felt like a total idiot because this was the guy who, when we started dating, would bring me coffee in bed and say he appreciated me so much. Now I was just the butt of his Maid jokes. Eventually, a couple of people came over and awkwardly asked if I was okay. I just said I was fine, just tired. Claire sat next to me and quietly said, "You don't have to stay." I shook my head because I didn't want to make a scene. Plus, Douglas was still hovering around the door like he was guarding it. At one point, Claire tried to get past him to let her dog out, and he just ignored her, blocking the hallway until she literally pushed him out of the way. He stumbled a bit, almost dropped his phone, and got mad at her for shoving, but she just told him to move. I watched all of this and thought, okay, so it's not just me. He's just like this, I guess. He's always got to be the center of attention, and if he feels ignored, he'll drag everyone down with him. It's so obvious now that I was actually paying attention. The whole night, my phone kept buzzing. I got text from Avery asking if I was okay, and I just said, "It's fine, I'll call you later." I got a couple from my mom too, which was weird because she never texts that late, but she was asking if I was coming by tomorrow. I almost replied just to have a reason to leave, but I didn't want to start anything in front of these people. I knew if I left, he'd make a scene, so I just waited. Finally, around 2 in the morning, people started leaving. I got up, grabbed my coat, and walked to the door. Douglas was standing there, arms crossed, just staring at me. I didn't say anything. I just walked past him. He muttered something under his breath. I couldn't even tell what. Probably more of the same. I got outside and stood on the porch for a minute, trying to catch my breath. Claire came out to give me my charger. I had left it plugged in. She looked at me like she wanted to say something but didn't. She just told me to text her about the dryer if it got worse. I nodded, thanked her, and left. The walk home was about 10 minutes, and I spent the whole time replaying everything in my head. I got to our apartment, went straight to bed, and didn't say a word to Douglas when he finally came in, slamming the door behind him. He didn't even look at me, just kicked off his shoes and went to the bathroom. I lay there, scrolling through Reddit, typing this out in my notes app so I wouldn't forget anything. That's how my Saturday night went, and I'm so mad I'm shaking. I have no idea what I'm supposed to do next, but I'm not going to let this slide. Part 2 is coming if anyone actually cares. I just needed to get this out. Sorry if this is a mess, I'm still so angry. First update, alright, I didn't think I'd be back this quickly, but a bunch of you wanted the next part, and honestly, typing it out is keeping me from screaming at my phone. Plus, I'm still too mad to do anything else right now. I don't know if this is even readable. I'm running on about 4 hours of sleep and a giant iced coffee that is not helping my nerves. Okay, here we go. I woke up after that disaster party and checked my phone. The notifications were wild. 20 missed calls from Douglas's parents, texts from his mom with messages like, "Please call us. Are you okay with Douglas? Can we talk?" And even a missed FaceTime from his sister. I put my phone on silent and stared at the ceiling for a while. I couldn't deal. Douglas was snoring on the couch, which was weird because he never sleeps out there unless he's trying to be dramatic, but I guess he passed out after coming home. I walked past him to get some cereal, and he just mumbled something and rolled over. The kitchen was gross, by the way. There were still Solo cups from last week, a sink full of his dishes, and the counter was sticky from that time he tried to make homemade margaritas and got sugar everywhere. It honestly looked like someone had thrown a toddler party in there and forgot to clean up. I stared at it and thought, I'm the only person who ever does any of this, every single time. I don't even remember the last time he took out the trash without me reminding him. He always says he's just bad at noticing mess, but somehow he notices when I miss a spot. I sat with my coffee and tried to work out what to do. I could just leave. I could text Claire and tell her the rent's on him now. I could pack up my stuff and stay at my mom's or Avery's for a few days, but honestly, I wanted him to feel it. I wanted him to actually have to deal with the mess he's made. literally and figuratively. I wanted him to realize just how much I do because he doesn't. He never has. After last night, I wasn't in the mood to be the bigger person. I'm petty, and I'm proud. So I started making a list, literally in my notes app, of every single thing I paid for, every time I covered his half of the rent, every bill I set up, every cleaning supply I bought, every random thing he forgot at the store that I picked up. The list was long. I scrolled for a solid minute just looking at all the little things. Toilet paper, paper towels, Swiffer refills, laundry cards, light bulbs, trash bags, that stupid scented candle he likes, literally everything. I even found Venmo receipts from last year when he couldn't access his account, and I covered his share of the internet for 3 months straight. He never paid me back, just kept saying, "I'll get it next time." Right. The more I went through it, the madder I got. I started taking pictures of stuff around the apartment that was mine, the couch mine, the TV, I bought that when I moved in, the plates, the silverware, the microwave, the sheets, literally, all mine, except for this ugly lamp he got from his parents and the broken kettle he swears he's going to fix but never does. I started grouping stuff together mentally, like, what can I take without needing a U-Haul? What do I actually care about? What would he even notice? Is gone. I texted Avery and asked if I could borrow her car next weekend. She sent back a middle finger emoji and say less. Love her. I ignored Douglas all morning. He shuffled into the kitchen around noon, looking like absolute death. He made a big show of pouring himself water and rubbing his temples. I just sat there, scrolling through my phone, not even pretending to be interested in fixing him breakfast. Eventually, he tried to make small talk, saying he didn't remember much from last night. I just said, "You said enough." He looked confused for a second, then got defensive, like, "Oh, come on, you know I was kidding. Everyone jokes like that." I stared at him and didn't respond. He got annoyed and went back to the couch. My mom called again, asking if I was coming to dinner. She could tell something was up, but I just said I wasn't feeling great and I'd text her later. She asked if Douglas was coming, and I just laughed. She didn't push, just said to call if I needed anything. Honestly, I should have told her then, but I didn't want to deal with the whole "we warned you about him" speech. Parents never let that go. Douglas spent the rest of the afternoon on his phone, scrolling TikTok and texting his friends. I heard him laugh a couple of times, then he got super quiet. I peeked and saw he was in a group chat with Carson and Andrew, his 2 ride-or-die friends from college, and they were talking about how awkward last night was. Someone said Claire looked pissed. Douglas just said, "She'll get over it, she always does." I took a screenshot and saved it, just in case, not for blackmail or anything, just proof that he knows he's an ass. Around 5, I started packing my stuff, not everything, just little things, my chargers, my makeup, my favorite hoodie, my headphones, some books, my laptop, stuff he'd never even notice missing. I put it all in my bag and put it in my car. He didn't even ask where I was going, just told me to bring back some chips if I stopped at the store. I slammed the door when I left. I sat in the car for a minute, just breathing, then drove to Avery's to drop off my bag. She didn't ask questions, just handed me a soda and put on some music. God, I almost cried, but I didn't. When I got back, Douglas was playing Xbox, yelling at some kid online about camping and spawn points. I went into the bedroom and started looking through the closet. Half the clothes in there were mine, but he always left his stuff in a pile on the floor. I started folding my stuff into a laundry bag. He walked in and asked what I was doing. I just said, "Laundry." He shrugged and went back to his game. I made dinner just for myself. He came in and asked where his was. I told him he could make his own. He actually pouted, like genuinely, like a child. I walked past him and went to my room. I spent the night texting Claire. I asked if she was okay after last night, and she said she was just embarrassed for everyone. She apologized that I had to deal with Douglas and said if I ever needed anything with the apartment to let her know. I asked if she thought her dad would let Douglas stay if I moved out. She said, "Well, you're not on the lease, are you?" "Just him." I confirmed, "Yeah, just him." Because when we moved in, he said he'd handle the paperwork and never put my name down, saying it'd be less complicated. She said, "Then he's responsible for the rent." I said, "Good to know." She sent back a thumbs up emoji. I started to feel a little better. The next morning, I started moving more of my stuff. Douglas barely noticed. He was busy arguing with Andrew about fantasy football and complaining about the Wi-Fi. I started unplugging things that were mine and putting them in boxes: the router, I pay for it, the coffee maker, the kitchen knives, my blender, my throw pillows, even the air fryer. I left all his crap, his old laptop, his gaming chair, his pile of random wires he swears he'll organize someday. I texted Avery to come help me with the big stuff. She pulled up around 2. We loaded up her car with boxes. He came out and asked what we were doing. I said moving some things. He nodded and went back inside. I left the essentials for the next day, my bed, my dresser, my bathroom stuff. I figured I'd come back when he was at the gym. He goes every Tuesday at 6 like clockwork, always posting a sweaty mirror selfie on Snapchat. I texted Claire and told her I'd be out by the weekend. She said, "Just let me know if there are any problems." I told her I'd leave my keys in the mailbox that night. Douglas acted like nothing was weird. He asked if I wanted to watch something. I said no thanks. He pouted again. I almost laughed. He complained about the kitchen being empty. I said maybe go to the store. He said, "Why are you being like this?" I said, "You know what you did." He rolled his eyes and walked away. I slammed the bathroom door and stayed in there for about 20 minutes. My mom called again. I finally answered and told her I was moving out. She said, "Oh, honey." She didn't even sound surprised. She just asked, "Do you need help moving?" I said, "Maybe, but Avery's got it." She asked, "Do you want to stay here for a bit?" I said, "Maybe, but I think I'll be okay." She said, "Okay, just let me know." I almost told her everything, but I didn't. So, here's where it gets good. The next day, Douglas left for the gym at 6. I texted Avery and she came over. We grabbed the last of my stuff. I left a note on the counter with a list of everything he owes me for the last year. Rent, bills, groceries, cleaning supplies, all of it. Plus a note that said, "Your turn to pay. Don't forget the toilets." I put my keys in the mailbox, took one last look at the apartment. It looked sad, the air still heavy with him calling me pathetic, and walked out without looking back. I went to Avery's. She handed me a drink, and we watched dumb YouTube videos for hours. My mom texted to say she was proud of me. I didn't reply right away, I just wanted to be alone for a bit. Later that night, I got a string of texts from Douglas. He was mad, saying I blindsided him, that I was selfish for leaving him with all the bills, that he couldn't believe I'd do this to him. I didn't reply. He called me. I ignored it. He called again and again. I blocked him, his mom, his sister, Andrew, and Carson too, just in case. I texted Claire and told her I was out. She said, "Thanks for letting me know." I asked if Douglas had paid the rent yet. She said, "Not yet." I said, "Good luck with that." So, yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm out, I'm gone, and I left him with a mess he can't ignore. He always wanted to be the big man, the one in charge, the one who never did anything wrong. Now he gets to figure out how to clean up after himself, literally and figuratively. I'm not saying I'm done either. If he wants to play games, I can play too. But for now, I'm going to let him stew. Maybe now he'll realize who's actually pathetic. Let me know if you want more updates. I have a feeling this isn't over yet. Second update, okay, so, not gonna lie, I didn't think I'd be posting again this soon, but people keep asking for updates, and honestly, things got messier than even I expected. I also kind of need a place to vent, because if I keep yelling at my group chat about it, Avery is going to show up at my door with a bottle and a baseball bat, and I don't know who she'd hit first, me or Douglas. Right after I moved out, I really thought Douglas would just ghost me, maybe try to trash talk me to his friends and then deal. But no, he went full drama mode. I wasn't even out of Avery's car when I got the first angry text, then another, and another, all caps too. He was saying I set him up, that I was ruining his life, that his parents were freaking out because they thought I was missing. And now they were calling him nonstop asking what happened. Like, bro, maybe you should have thought of that before you started calling me your maid in a room full of people. I ignored all of it because I wasn't about to play into his hands. Avery kept telling me to block him, and I already did, but he started using other numbers, sending me a DM on Instagram, then on Facebook, which I haven't checked since last year. I just left everything unread. I think he was hoping I'd come back just to shut him up, but no, not this time. What I didn't expect was how fast his money problems would catch up. Claire texted me maybe 2 days after I left, asking if I knew when Douglas was going to pay rent. I sent her a screenshot of his last "I'll get it next time" text and said, "Not my circus anymore." She sent back a bunch of laughing emojis and then a yikes. Apparently, he told her I'd cover for him if there were any issues, which is hilarious because I literally told her I was out. I guess he really thought I'd keep running his errands from a distance. The group chat drama got spicy here. Some background: Douglas and I were in a shared chat with a couple of his friends, Andrew, Carson, Gabriella, plus some of their girlfriends. Mostly for dumb memes, party invites, and arguing about where to get takeout. I'd been quiet in there for ages, but I decided, you know what? If he's going to try to spin this like I'm the bad guy, I'm not staying quiet. So I sent a message. Not in a rage, just facts. I said, "Hey, since Douglas keeps messaging me about abandoning him, here's all the rent receipts, here's the stuff I paid for, here's screenshots of his Maid with benefits joke and his texts about having me trained." Not trying to start a war, just clearing up the facts. Not gonna lie, that chat blew up. Two of the guys tried to defend Douglas, saying he was just drunk and didn't mean it. Gabriella said she always thought he treated me badly and was glad I finally left. Andrew tried to say I was being dramatic, but I sent a picture of the note I left on the counter with the total amount he owes me for the year. Silence for about an hour after that. Carson eventually messaged me privately, asking if I was okay and if I needed help moving anything else. I said, "I'm good, but thanks." He just said, "Douglas is having a rough time." I didn't reply. Meanwhile, Claire told me her dad was now involved because Douglas missed rent for the first time ever and apparently tried to blame me to him too. Good luck with that, my name's not even on the lease. Her dad was annoyed and told Douglas he had 1 week to pay or he was out. I can almost picture Douglas trying to talk his way out of it, all fake charm, but it wasn't working this time. In regular life, I'm trying to keep it moving. I'm at Avery's for a few days, sleeping on her couch, and we're joking about how I should invoice Douglas for maid services. My mom calls every day, asking if I'm okay, and I keep saying I'm fine, but she keeps offering to bring over groceries or pick me up if I need a break. I finally went over there for dinner, and she made lasagna and didn't say I told you so, which is basically her version of a hug. Douglas tried texting Avery, asking if she'd talk some sense into me. She sent him a single dawn, ever text me again and blocked him. Love her for that. He tried Carson, who just left him on read. Andrew tried to call me, and I let it go to voicemail. He left this rambling message about how Douglas was in a bad place and everyone makes mistakes. I deleted it. I'm not interested in being guilted into fixing his problems. The social pressure is actually working. People aren't buying his poor me act. Claire said her dad is over it and ready to start showing the place to new people if Douglas can't pay the rent by Friday. That's 3 days away. I'm not going to lie. I get a little satisfaction out of that. For over a year, I've been the one quietly handling everything, cleaning up, paying bills, apologizing to Claire for late payments, covering for him with his parents. Now he has to answer for it all himself, and he's flailing. The best part? There are real consequences. Claire's dad isn't mean about it, just business. He said if Douglas doesn't pay, he's got to leave. I heard from Carson that Douglas is trying to borrow money from everyone, but nobody wants to lend him anything because they all know he won't pay it back. Even Andrew, who's usually his #1 hype man, said he's got bills too. Gabriella told me she's sorry it took her so long to notice how he treated me. I just told her it's fine, I'm good now. I got a text from Douglas's mom from a random number since I blocked her main one, asking if I'd help Douglas out just this once for old time's sake. She said he's really struggling and doesn't know how to keep up with everything. I texted back, "I'm not his maid." She never replied. "Oh, and this is petty, but I'm not sorry. A couple of days after I left, I went back to the apartment with Claire. She let me in to grab the last of my stuff, a box of books and my old blender Douglas never used but insisted on keeping just in case. He was there and tried to argue with me, saying I ruined his life and that I didn't have to make it public. I just said, you did that yourself. He tried to get in my way, standing in the hallway and refusing to move, so I pushed past him. He slammed his door behind me. Claire just rolled her eyes and said, "He's not your problem anymore." I took my stuff and left. I feel like I'm finally seeing how much of his attitude was just entitlement. He genuinely believed I'd always cover for him, clean up after him, pay his bills, and laugh off his jokes. He used to say I was good at keeping things together, but really he just didn't want to do any of it. When he got called out, he tried to make me look like the villain. Now, he's stuck. He has no one to blame but himself. Every time he tries to make me the bad guy, it just backfires. People are starting to see through the act. Even his parents, who used to call me for every little thing. "Haley, did you remind Douglas to call his grandma? Haley, did Douglas find his insurance card?" They're realizing they can't guilt me into fixing it. I'm not being mean, just done. If anything else wild happens, I'll update, but honestly, I think this is finally the start of him dealing with his own mess. If you're reading this and you're the Haley in your relationship, trust me, you don't owe anyone your sanity or your credit score. That's it for now, unless he tries something else, which honestly wouldn't surprise me at all. Last update, alright, this is probably going to be my last update for a while unless something truly wild happens because, not gonna lie, I'm exhausted and I need to finally get on with my own stuff. But I promised a final wrap-up and honestly, this one is a lot. If you're still reading, thank you for the support, the DMs, the girls, same comments, all of it. I'm seriously not used to random internet strangers rooting for me, so it's weirdly nice. After the last post, I was mostly just waiting to see if Douglas would actually pay his rent or if he'd get kicked out. Honestly, I didn't think he'd go down without some last pathetic move. I wasn't wrong. But before all that, let's start with the weirdest part, his parents. The morning after I left for good, I still had those 20 missed calls stacked up from his mom, dad, and even his sister on her old number. I kept ignoring them, and not gonna lie, It got to the point where I started feeling a little petty for not even texting back, "I'm alive, leave me alone." But then, around noon, my phone started blowing up again. Same numbers, but now with long voicemails. His mom was all frantic, asking me to just talk to her, saying Douglas was in bad shape, that he hadn't eaten and couldn't sleep, and that he's never been like this before. I listened to half a message, rolled my eyes, deleted it, and thought, I'm not cold-hearted, but I'm not his mediator anymore. I'm not his parent, not his therapist, not his maid. The next thing, and this is the part that really makes me want to flip a table, is she started texting my mom, like my actual mom. I guess she still had her number from that one time they met at a holiday thing. I only found out because my mom called me and was like, is everything okay? Douglas's mom says he can't pay rent and needs you to come back and talk some sense into him. My mom sounded tired, like she was expecting me to say I was getting back together with him, but I told her straight up, nope, I'm done. He's on his own. Please don't answer her anymore. She just said, okay, and asked if I needed her to bring over groceries. Douglas kept calling, switching between mad and sad. 1 second it was, you ruined my life. The next it was, I'm sorry, come back, I'll change. I ignored every single call. He tried new numbers, even tried to FaceTime me. I blocked everything. It was like whack-a-mole. Avery kept laughing about it, saying I should start charging him by the call. Meanwhile, Claire texted me that her dad finally gave Douglas the official notice. He's got to be out by Friday if he can't pay. Apparently, he tried to get an extension by saying his ex sabotaged him. Claire's dad just said, it's not my business. Pay or move. Douglas tried to guilt everyone else. Carson texted me that Douglas tried to borrow money from him, saying I stole his stuff. Nope, I only took what was mine and left the rest, receipts and all. Gabriella messaged me, saying Douglas DM'd her, asking if she'd vouch for him if Claire's dad asked about payment history. She sent him a gif of someone laughing, and that made my night. The only person who didn't seem to be taking sides was Andrew, but that's just because he hates drama, not because he's neutral. He texted me, saying he didn't want to get involved, which is basically his motto for life. By Thursday, Claire texted me that Douglas was in full panic mode. He was behind on everything, rent, internet, probably even his random subscriptions. I still get emails about his old food box service, not my problem. He tried to call Claire's dad again, and when that didn't work, he called his mom, who then called me again. This time, I picked up, mostly because I was so annoyed. She started with, please, Haley, I know he messed up, but he's so lost without you. He's not good at handling life stuff. You know how he is. I just said, sorry, I'm not part of this anymore. You need to talk to your son, not me. She started crying a little, which was awkward, and I just said goodbye and hung up. I think the real reason Douglas treats people like this is because he's always gotten away with it. His parents baby him. His friends either ignore it or laugh it off. I was just the latest person to pick up the slack. He gets loud when he's embarrassed, jokes when he's nervous, and when that doesn't work, he expects someone else to come fix things. I kinda knew he was lazy, but I never saw just how much he depended on people cleaning up after him until I stopped doing it. Friday came. I was at my new place, which is honestly a shoebox, but at least it's mine, eating leftover noodles. I got a text from Claire, just a thumbs up and he's out. Apparently, Douglas didn't pay, didn't pack up half his stuff, and just left it there. Claire's dad said he could come get the rest if he wanted, but the locks are changed, and he's not living there anymore. I asked if he made a scene. She said he cried a little, slammed the door and left. I almost felt bad for a second, but then I remembered how he acted at that party, and I'm just like, nah, I don't. Get this. He tried to show up at my new place, literally knocking on the door. I heard it, peeked out the window, and saw him standing there with his hoodie pulled up, holding a grocery bag. I didn't open the door. I texted Avery, who's in the next building over, and she came out, stood on the sidewalk, and just stared at him until he left. He didn't even try to talk to her, just walked off. Avery texted me, dude is lost. I blocked his number again, just in case. The next day, I got a letter in my mailbox from Douglas, handwritten, which is wild because he never writes anything unless he has to. It was 3 paragraphs of apologies, excuses, begging for another chance, saying he can't do this alone, that he didn't mean any of it, blah blah. He even said he'd pay me back for everything if I just came back. I ripped it up and tossed it, not even tempted to reply. So, that's it, I guess. Douglas is out, I'm out. Claire's family is already cleaning the apartment for new tenants. His parents tried everything, even called my mom again. She just ignores them now. Gabriella said Douglas is couch surfing at Andrew's place, but Andrew isn't loving it and is probably going to kick him out soon. Carson's still neutral, but he texted me that Douglas is talking about moving back in with his parents. I'm honestly just glad I'm not the one cleaning up after him anymore. The next time someone calls me boring, I'll just laugh and move on because, honestly, I'd rather be boring and free than stuck picking up after some guy who thinks he's the main character. Thanks for reading my unhinged saga. If you're ever in a situation where you're doing all the work and someone treats you like the help, don't wait for a big epiphany. Just start packing. You'll be shocked how fast the trash takes itself out. And no, I never called his parents back. Not my circus, not my monkeys. If Douglas wants to get his life together, he can start by learning how to do laundry or at least how to pay his own damn rent. That's all for now. Maybe next time I'll write about something fun.